After a night with his mistress, he came home at dawn. His child left a letter that broke him. Sau một đêm với tình nhân, anh ta trở về nhà lúc rạng sáng. Con anh ta để lại một lá thư, khiến anh ta tan nát cõi lòng. By 19. The sky over Brooklyn was still bruised with the last traces of night when Grant Whitmore finally stumbled through the front door. His suit jacket hung off one shoulder, the faint scent of Sabrina Cole's perfume clinging to him like a guilty shadow. He tried to move quietly, but the apartment had that early morning stillness that made every sound sharper, every breath louder. Grant paused in the hallway, rubbing the back of his neck, rehearsing excuses he knew Lily wouldn't believe. The kitchen light was on. That was his first warning. The second was the cold plate of untouched scrambled eggs on the counter, Lily's doing. She always made breakfast when she couldn't sleep, and last night, clearly, she hadn't slept at all. Grant sighed and stepped closer, already annoyed by what he assumed would be another emotional conversation. But then he saw it. A small folded paper placed carefully beside Lily's chipped coffee mug, crayon writing, childish, uneven strokes. His daughter's handwriting. He picked it up, trying to ignore how his hands suddenly trembled. "Daddy, you didn't come home again. Mommy cried all night. Please stop making her cry. I miss you, Ella." 18. The words hit him harder than any accusation Lily had ever thrown his way. Ella wasn't supposed to know. She wasn't supposed to feel the weight of his choices, the coldness that had crept into their home. Grant swallowed hard, the kitchen tilting slightly as guilt finally pierced through his arrogance. Then he noticed something else, Lily's house keys beside the note, her wedding ring beside the keys, and the silence of the apartment, a silence too complete. Grant dropped the note, panic rising in his chest for the first time in years. Because Lily wasn't there. And neither was Ella. And Grant had no idea where they had gone. Lily Henderson had always been the kind of woman people overlooked, quiet, gentle, carrying more weight in her heart than in her words. That morning, as dawn crept across Brooklyn Heights, she sat on the edge of the bed she no longer recognized as hers. Her hands rested on her swollen belly, trying to calm the little kicks that came whenever she was upset. "It's okay, sweetheart," she whispered. "We're going to be okay, I just don't know how yet." She had spent the whole night awake, curled on the couch with Ella pressed against her. Every few minutes, the little girl would lift her head and ask, "Is Daddy coming home?" And Lily, swallowing the truth like a shard of glass, could only answer, "Maybe, baby, maybe, soon." But soon never came. Lily looked around the room, now the photos, the notes on the fridge, the wedding portrait where Grant had smiled like he meant forever. All of it felt like evidence in a case she never wanted to build. Her phone buzzed around 3 a.m., but she didn't open the message. She knew what it would be, another excuse, another lie polished to sound like responsibility. At 4:30, Ella finally fell asleep. Lily covered her with a blanket and walked to the kitchen, trying to gather strength from the soft hum of the refrigerator. She found one last slice of bread, toasted it, and tried to eat, but the knot in her throat wouldn't loosen. Instead, she sat down and wrote a small note of her own, leaving her keys beside it. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't have the heart. She had sacrificed so much for this family, her degree, her dreams, her confidence, working late shifts at Barnes & Noble, clipping coupons, skipping her own meals so Ella could have more. And Grant used all of that against her, calling her too emotional, too fragile, too dependent. What he never understood was the quiet power inside her. A power born from growing up abandoned, learning early how to survive without a safety net, and now she would have to survive again. When Ella woke, Lily helped her into her tiny sneakers, packed a few clothes into a canvas tote, and kissed the top of her daughter's warm head. "Where are we going, Mommy?" the little girl asked. "Somewhere safe," Lily answered, forcing a smile she didn't feel. She glanced once more at the silent apartment, then closed the door behind her. But as she stepped into the cold hallway, she didn't realize someone else had seen her leave. The city was barely waking when Lily stepped onto the sidewalk, the cold Brooklyn air biting through her thin sweater. She tightened her grip on Ella's hand, guiding her toward the bus stop at the corner. Morning traffic hummed softly, delivery trucks rolling past, a jogger sipping from a steaming Starbucks cup. To everyone else, it was just another day. For Lily, it was the first day of a life she hadn't prepared for. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Grant flashed on the cracked screen. "Where are you? We need to talk. Don't be dramatic." She locked the phone without replying. He always said the same things, minimizing, dismissing, rewriting reality like he owned the truth. Ella tugged her sleeve. "Mommy, are we going to Grandma's?" Lily forced a gentle smile. "Grandma's in heaven, sweet pea. We're going somewhere else, somewhere quiet." The little girl nodded, trusting her completely. That trust felt like both a blessing and a weight. As the bus approached, Lily felt eyes on her. She turned subtly. A figure stood beside the brownstone entrance, the neighbor from 4B, Mr. Collins. He was pretending to check his mail, but kept glancing her way. He had always been friendly, but today his stare lingered too long, too calculating, as if he knew something. A chill ran down her spine. The bus doors hissed open. Lily lifted Ella inside and took a seat near the back. Brooklyn rolled by outside the window, brick buildings, corner shops, a Barnes & Noble she once worked at before Sabrina's fabricated report got her fired. The injustice still stung. Grant hadn't defended her. He didn't even try. Instead, he came home late, more often. He smelled like expensive cologne she didn't own. He stopped touching her belly. He stopped asking about the baby. He stopped pretending. Lily blinked hard, trying to steady her breath. She reached into her tote bag and pulled out a folded sheet of paper, the ultrasound photo. The baby's tiny profile stared back at her, a reminder of why she couldn't give up. But something else bothered her now. Grant wasn't the only one who had texted that morning. Among the missed calls was a number she didn't recognize, private, no name. There had been 3 calls, 1 voicemail. And now, a new message. "We need to meet. You're in danger. Do not go where you're planning." If... Lily's stomach dropped. No one else should know where she was going. No one. She looked at Ella, then at the message again. And for the first time, she wondered if leaving Grant was only the beginning of something much darker. The bus rattled to a stop near the East River, where Lily planned to switch lines and head toward a women's shelter she found online at 2 a.m. She kept her head low as she stepped off with Ella, scanning the street the way a hunted animal might. Something about the unknown caller's message kept echoing in her chest like a warning bell she couldn't silence. She crossed the small plaza near the waterfront, clutching Ella's hand as a cold wind swept through. Pigeons scattered, car horns blared in the distance. Lily pulled her tote closer, trying to steady her breath. "Mommy, I'm cold," Ella whispered. "I know, baby, just a little further." And 12. But the moment they reached the next corner, a sleek black Mercedes slid up beside them, braking too smoothly to be a coincidence. The tinted window lowered partway, and Lily's heart dropped into her stomach. Sabrina Cole was behind the wheel. Her glossy hair framed a face too polished for mourning, and her red lipstick was far too bold for someone heading to work. Sabrina smiled, a sharp, victorious curl of the lips that made Lily's knees weaken. "Well," Sabrina said, tapping her nails lightly on the steering wheel, "that wasn't very smart of you, was it?" Lily froze. Ella hid partly behind her, sensing danger even if she didn't understand it. Sabrina continued, "Grant didn't tell me you'd run off so early, but men always slip, eventually." Her grin widened. "He's been out all night, you know, with me. He didn't mention that part, did he?" Lily tightened her hold on Ella. "What do you want?" "What I've always wanted," Sabrina said smoothly. "A clean slate, a life without you in the way. Do you know how exhausting it's been, pretending you two still mattered to him?" Lily swallowed hard. "Leave us alone." But Sabrina leaned closer, eyes sparkling with cruelty. "Why would I? Grant's finally ready to get what he deserves, and so am I. You should have stayed home, Lily. Running only makes you look unstable. Judges don't like instability, especially when children are involved." Lily felt the words like a punch. Sabrina wasn't threatening just her marriage. She was threatening her custody. Before Lily could respond, Sabrina added softly, almost sweetly, "And by the way, you might want to stop trusting strangers. Brooklyn is full of people who talk too much." The Mercedes pulled away smoothly, leaving exhaust and dread in its wake. Lily's legs trembled as she lifted Ella into her arms. Because Sabrina's final words weren't random. They meant someone close had already betrayed her. And Lily suddenly realized she didn't know who to fear more, Grant, Sabrina, or the person watching her every move. Lily's hands were still shaking as she hurried down the block, wanting nothing more than to disappear into the crowd. Sabrina's threat clung to her skin like frost, colder than the wind whipping off the river. She tried to focus on the path ahead, but her mind kept replaying the same sentence someone close had already betrayed her. Who? Mr. Collins? A coworker? Someone from Grant's office? The uncertainty gnawed at her as she stepped into a small cafe to warm Ella up. The bell chimed, drawing a few glances, and Lily guided her daughter to a corner booth. She ordered a small hot chocolate for Ella and a plain tea for herself, even though her stomach was too tight to drink anything. Her hands fumbled as she opened her tote bag to search for napkins, and that's when she heard it, the unmistakable click of a camera. She snapped her head up. A young woman near the counter was pointing her phone directly at Lily, angling it to capture both her and Ella. The woman didn't even pretend to hide it. Instead, she smirked. "Don't mind me," the woman said. "Your husband has quite a story going around the office." Lily's heart stopped. "What story?" "That you're unstable," the woman replied casually, tapping her screen. "That you took the kid and ran. People love drama, especially the kind executives whisper about." Lily felt her blood run cold. Grant. This had his fingerprints all over it, twisting the truth before she even had a chance to speak it. "Delete that," Lily demanded, her voice shaking. "Delete it now." The woman laughed lightly. "Why would I? Sabrina wants people to see what a mess you are. And honestly, you're making her job really easy." Ella pressed closer to Lily, frightened. Lily placed a protective arm around her daughter and stood. "Stop filming us." But the woman only raised her phone higher, speaking louder now, loud enough for other customers to hear. "Look at this poor kid. Imagine having a mother who drags her around the city instead of getting help." Heads began turning, whispering, judging. Lily felt exposed, cornered, burned alive by 100 silent stares. Her breath grew shallow. Panic clawed up her throat. She grabbed Ella's hand and bolted out the door, the phone still recording behind her. On the street, tears blurred her vision. The world felt too loud, too bright, too cruel. She stopped in an alleyway, holding Ella close, chest rising and falling in ragged gasps. She needed help. Real help. Someone who wouldn't twist her pain into a weapon. Her phone buzzed. The unknown number again, this time with a message. "Lily, please, let me help you before they ruin you completely." And for the first time, she wondered if the stranger might be the only person left she could trust. Lily's legs felt weak as she stepped out of the alley, the phone gripped tightly in her shaky hand. The unknown number had texted again. "I'm nearby. You're not safe alone. Please answer." She didn't reply. Couldn't. Trust had become a fragile thing, and lately every outstretched hand felt like a disguised snare. She tucked the phone away and hurried toward the subway entrance, thinking a moving crowd would give her a moment to breathe. But as she descended the staircase, a sudden wave of dizziness struck her. Spots danced in her vision, the world tilted. She grabbed the railing, gasping. Ella clung to her leg, frightened. "Mommy, are you sick?" "I'm okay," Lily whispered, though she wasn't. Her chest tightened, her pulse pounding in her ears. She tried to step forward, but her knees buckled. The stress, the fear, the pregnancy, it was all catching up to her. Someone rushed toward them. "Ma'am, do you need help?" A stranger, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, steadied her, but Lily recoiled instinctively. Paranoia wrapped around her spine. What if he wasn't kind? What if he was connected to Sabrina? What if this was another setup? Her breathing worsened. A crowd was forming, voices blurred. "Is she okay?" "She's pregnant. Call 911. N21. Ella began to cry, her sobs slicing through the noise. "Mommy, please don't fall." A sharp cramp tore through Lily's abdomen. Panic surged. Not now. Not the baby. Her tote bag slipped from her shoulder and spilled open papers, a bottle of prenatal vitamins, Ella's small stuffed rabbit, and on top of everything, the folded ultrasound photo. A passerby picked it up gently, placing it back into her trembling hands. "Hang on," someone said. "Help is coming." But Lily didn't want strangers. She wanted someone who cared. Someone who saw her as more than a headline or a pawn. Her mind darted back to Grant. He wouldn't come. She knew it. He'd accuse her of faking. Sabrina would twist this into another chance to call her unfit. Ella kept crying, "Mommy, wake up. Mommy." Lily forced her eyes open. "I'm here, honey. I'm here." Her phone buzzed again, the unknown number. This time, a voicemail. With trembling hands, she pressed play. "Lily, it's Ben Cross. from the bookstore. I don't want to scare you, but Grant is trying to file for emergency custody. He's telling people you're unstable. I know what he's planning, and I won't let it happen. Please let me help you. I'm on my way. Lily's breath caught. Ben? Quiet, gentle Ben? But before she could process the message, sirens wailed in the distance, and Lily's vision finally went dark. She didn't see who stepped out of the crowd and followed the ambulance. The antiseptic smell of the hospital hit Lily first as consciousness slowly returned. She blinked against the harsh fluorescent lights, her vision swimming until shapes sharpened into a blurry ceiling, then a curtain, then a chair beside her bed. Panic surged through her chest. Ella? She whispered hoarsely. A nurse stepped forward. Your daughter is fine, sweetheart. She's in the playroom. She was very brave. Relief hit so hard it almost hurt. Lily tried to sit up, but the nurse gently pressed her shoulder. You fainted from stress and dehydration. You and the baby are stable, but you need rest. Rest. The word felt foreign. Then she noticed something on the small table beside her 2 cups. One was a warm Starbucks hot chocolate, Ella's favorite. The other was a chamomile tea, the exact blend Lily used to buy on nights she couldn't sleep. She stared at them, confused. The curtain rustled. A man stepped in. Ben Cross. Not the bookstore Ben. She remembered the quiet man with soft eyes and rolled-up sleeves alphabetizing novels. This Ben wore a tailored charcoal coat, still dusted with cold air, and a gravity in his expression she had never seen before. Lily, he said quietly, his voice tight with worry. You scared me. She blinked. How did you even? I was already looking for you, he interrupted gently. I heard what Grant was trying to do. I knew he'd twist things before you had a chance to defend yourself. Lily's breath faltered. Why would you care? Ben exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. Because you deserve better than all of this, and because I've known for a long time that something wasn't right. He hesitated, eyes lowering. I should have stepped in sooner. There was something raw in his tone, something that made Lily's throat tighten. But before she could speak, the nurse stepped in again. Miss Henderson, a man named Grant has been calling repeatedly demanding access. We declined, per your authorization form. Lily's stomach dropped. Did he sound angry? Ben answered before the nurse could. He's furious, and he's using it to build his case. He's already contacted a judge, claiming you're unstable and unfit. That fainting spell, he's spinning it as a breakdown. Lily felt cold all over. He'll take my daughter. Ben stepped closer, his voice low but steady. Not if I help you. You're not alone anymore. She stared at him, unsure how to believe in hope after so much hurt. But then Ben added something that froze her completely. There's another reason I came. Something I should have told you a long time ago. Lily, I'm not who you think I am. Lily's breath caught in her throat. Ben's expression wasn't dramatic or theatrical. It was steady, weighted, as if he'd been carrying this truth for years. She gripped the blanket, every instinct bracing for a betrayal she couldn't survive. What do you mean you're not who I think you are? She whispered. Ben pulled the chair closer. His coat shifted, revealing a glimpse of an elegant Mont Blanc pen clipped inside a detail that looked strangely out of place on a simple bookstore clerk. My full name isn't Ben Cross, he began quietly. It's Benjamin Whitaker Cross. My mother, she owned the Whitaker Foundation. It wasn't just a charity. It was a multi-billion-dollar investment trust. He paused, watching her reaction. When she passed 2 years ago, I inherited everything. Lily stared. The Whitaker Foundation was famous. Even she, with her modest life and limited news consumption, knew the name. But she had only ever known Ben as the soft-spoken man who recommended books to her daughter and brought out a step stool when she couldn't reach the top shelf. But you worked at a bookstore. And us. He gave a small, almost embarrassed smile. I didn't want the wealth to change who I was. I wanted a quiet life, something real, something human. Lily swallowed hard. Why tell me now? Because you're being hunted, he said honestly. Grant has money, lawyers, influence, but I have enough power to counter him. I can protect you, and I can expose him. Lily's pulse quickened. Expose him for what? Ben leaned forward, lowering his voice. Grant has been siphoning money through shell departments in his firm. Sabrina knows, and she's using it to keep him tied to her. She's dangerous, Lily. If Grant goes down, she will too. They're desperate. People do stupid things when their lives are about to collapse. Lily trembled, the weight of everything nearly too much. Why? Why help me? You don't owe me anything. On that occasion, Ben held her gaze, and in that look was something that made her chest ache, gentle, steady, almost heartbreaking in its sincerity. I owe you kindness, he said softly, because every time you came into that store, even when you were tired or hurting, you treated me like I mattered. Not the bookstore clerk. Not the invisible guy shelving books. Just Ben. Emotion swelled behind Lily's ribs. Before she could answer, her hospital door slammed open. 2 security officers stepped inside. Miss Henderson, there's a man outside demanding access. He says he's your husband. Lily's veins turned to ice. Grant was here, and he wasn't leaving without a fight. The 2 security officers stood rigid, blocking the doorway as if bracing for impact. Lily's breath caught in her throat, her pulse thundering beneath the hospital wristband. Grant wasn't supposed to find her. Not this fast. Not here. Ben rose slowly from his chair, his expression shifting, no longer gentle, but cold, controlled, protective. She does not want to see him, he told the officers, his voice low but firm. One officer hesitated. Sir, he's insisting, says he's her husband and has legal. Ben didn't let him finish. He has no legal authority here. She's the patient. She decides who gets access. Lily had never heard Ben sound like that, calm, authoritative, a man used to being obeyed. The officers exchanged glances, then stepped back slightly. A moment later, a familiar voice thundered from the hall. Move, my wife is in there. Grant's voice, sharp with entitlement, cut through Lily like a blade. She flinched, instinctively touching her stomach. Ben moved to shield her, just as Grant shoved past the officers and stormed into the room. His eyes were wild, not with worry, but fury. What the hell is this, Lily? He snapped, ignoring her pale face and trembling hands. Running off? Collapsing in public? Making me look like the bad guy? You don't need help looking like the bad guy, Ben muttered under his breath. Grant whirled toward him. And who the hell are you? Ben didn't flinch. Someone who actually cares about her well-being. Grant barked a harsh laugh. Right, the bookstore loser? The guy who shelves discount paperbacks and thinks he can get involved in my marriage? Lily felt the words like punches. Ben showed no reaction, but his jaw tightened. You're unfit, Lily, Grant continued, turning back to her, tone shifting into a practiced, chilling calm. Dragging our daughter around the city, collapsing in a subway station? That's neglect. I can file for emergency custody today. Lily's breath shattered. You wouldn't. Oh, I would, Grant said. And I'll win. You have nothing. No income, no home. A medical episode on record. Ben stepped forward. You're not taking her child. Thanks for watching. Grant sneered. Who's stopping me? You? Ben's eyes hardened. If I have to. The tension in the room crackled like electricity. Ella's small voice echoed in Lily's memory. Don't make mommy cry. Lily finally found her strength. Get out, Grant. He froze. Shocked, she dared speak back. She repeated it, louder, steadier. Get out. For the first time, Grant looked uncertain. But before he could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, then went pale. Sabrina had just sent him a message. We have a problem. And whatever it was, Grant suddenly needed to hide it fast. Grant's face drained of color as he read Sabrina's message. His fingers tightened around the phone, knuckles whitening. Whatever she sent wasn't just a warning, it was a threat. Lily could see it in the way his eyes darted, calculating, desperate. Ben watched him sharply. Something wrong? He asked, though his tone made it clear he already sensed danger. Grant shoved the phone into his pocket. It's none of your business. But his sudden panic gave him away. He wasn't thinking about Lily anymore, or Ella, or the collapsing marriage he'd pretended to care about. Something bigger was unraveling beneath him, something he didn't want exposed. Lily could feel it, a shift in the air, a crack in the wall he'd built around his lies. Grant turned to her abruptly. I'm coming back tomorrow with my lawyer. This situation ends now. I did for... Ben stepped between them. She's not meeting you alone. Not ever again. Grant glared at him. You think you can protect her? You don't know what you're getting into. Ben didn't move. I know exactly what I'm getting into. For a moment, the two men stood inches apart. Grant, fueled by arrogance and fear. Ben by quiet, unwavering resolve. Then Grant scoffed and stormed out, shoving past the officers still waiting outside the door. The room fell silent. Lily exhaled shakily, wiping a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. Her whole body trembled, exhaustion bleeding into dread. Ben, what is happening? Why does Sabrina have so much power over him? Ben sat beside her again, gentler now. Because she has evidence. Real evidence. The kind that could destroy him and the entire firm he works for. That text he got? My guess is something slipped. Or someone talked. Lily's chest tightened. And that puts us in danger? It puts you in the middle, Ben said softly. Which is why I need you to trust me, even if it feels impossible right now. She studied him, his steady eyes, his calm voice, the warmth he didn't try to hide. There was something grounding about him, something safe, but trust had always cost her too much. Ben hesitated, then added, "There's more you should know. Grant didn't just fail you emotionally. He's been making decisions behind your back that affect your future. Financially, legally, and personally. Decisions that could have cut you out entirely." Lily's stomach twisted. What kind of decisions? Ben opened his mouth to answer. But before he could speak, a loud crash echoed from the hallway, shouting, footsteps pounding toward the room. A nurse burst inside, breathless. Miss Henderson's security just detained someone trying to access the pediatric wing. Lily's heart dropped. Ella was in the pediatric wing. And the nurse's terrified whisper told Lily exactly what she feared. Someone had tried to reach her daughter. Lily's entire body went numb. The world seemed to tilt, the hospital walls bending around her as if refusing to stay upright. Someone had tried to reach Ella, her baby, her 6-year-old little girl who was probably sitting in the pediatric playroom with crayons and stuffed animals, waiting for her mother to get stronger. Is she safe? Lily gasped, struggling to push herself upright. The nurse nodded quickly. She's okay. Security intervened immediately. They just didn't want you walking into the chaos. Ben was already on his feet, jaw clenched. Who was it? We don't know yet, the nurse said. The man had a baseball cap pulled low and a mask. Security is questioning him now. Lily's breath shook. I need to see my daughter. Now. The nurse nodded and stepped aside. Ben offered his arms steady, grounding. Lily hesitated for only a second before accepting. She wasn't sure whether her legs were shaking from fear, exhaustion, or the crushing realization that someone had targeted her child. As they walked down the hallway, Ben whispered, "This wasn't random, Lily. Someone is trying to rattle you, push you over the edge." "My daughter?" Lily whispered, tears burning her eyes. "Why go after her?" Ben hesitated, then said softly, "Because they want leverage. Grant is losing control, and Sabrina thrives when things get ugly." They rounded the corner toward the pediatric wing. 2 security guards stood by the door, blocking it. One of them recognized Lily immediately and stepped forward. "Miss Henderson," he said gently, "your daughter is safe. We've placed her in a private room until we clear the situation." "Who was the man?" Ben pressed again. The guard exhaled. He refused to give his name, but he had something in his pocket, a business card. "Adu." He handed it to Ben. "Grant Whitmore, Strategic Development, Whitmore and Cole Investments." Lily felt the floor drop beneath her. Ben stared at the card, fury simmering beneath his calm exterior. He sent someone. To intimidate her, or worse. "No," Lily whispered, shaking with disbelief. "Grant would never hurt Ella. He wouldn't." "Lily," Ben said gently, "he's desperate. Desperate men don't think about consequences. They think about winning. It's A soft cry echoed from behind the pediatric room door. "Ella." Lily rushed inside. Her daughter ran straight into her arms, trembling but unharmed. Lily held her tightly, burying her face in Ella's hair. "It's okay," she whispered. "Mommy's here. Nobody's taking you away." Ben watched the embrace quietly, something dark and determined settling in his eyes. He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only Lily could hear. "This ends now," he said. "I'm done watching him tear your life apart. I am." Lily looked up, breath unsteady. "What are you going to do?" Ben's jaw tightened. "Expose everything he's been hiding." Ben waited in the hallway while Lily settled Ella inside the private room the hospital had assigned. Nurses brought coloring books, soft blankets, and a small tray of applesauce. Lily kissed her daughter's forehead and whispered promises she wasn't sure she could keep. When she finally stepped back into the hallway, Ben was there, leaning against the wall, arms crossed, eyes darker than she'd ever seen them. "You meant it," Lily said quietly. "You're really going to expose him?" Ben nodded. "I don't like ruining anyone's life. But Grant crossed a line today, and he's been crossing lines for a long time." Lily swallowed hard. What exactly does he have to hide? Ben took a breath. "More than you think. Today." He motioned for her to walk with him toward a quieter alcove. A hospital window overlooked the city, the sparkle of Manhattan in the distance, the skyline Grant worshipped more than his own family. Ben spoke with calm precision, each word carrying weight. "Grant has been moving money through offshore accounts for months. Millions. Funds from the firm that aren't supposed to go anywhere without board approval. He's been forging signatures and creating fake authorizations. And one." Lily stared at him, stunned. "Why would he do that?" "Because he's planning to jump ship," Ben said. "He and Sabrina want to start their own investment group. They need capital, capital that isn't theirs." Lily's hands flew to her mouth. "He's stealing?" "Yes," Ben said. "And if the board finds out before he disappears, he'll face federal charges." Lily felt dizzy again. "Why hasn't anyone reported him?" Ben lowered his voice. "Because Sabrina got to them. She has dirt on 2 senior partners. Enough to silence them." He paused. "That's why she's dangerous. She plays the long game. Grant thinks he's in control, but he's not. Sabrina is." Lily felt the truth unraveling inside her, painful and liberating at once. Grant had always made her feel small, powerless, dependent, but he was the one living a life built on lies. Ben continued, "I've stayed quiet because the Whitaker Foundation holds a large stake in Grant's firm. Exposing him would tank the stock and hurt hundreds of employees who did nothing wrong. But now, after he sent someone for Ella, I don't care about protecting him anymore." Lily's eyes filled with tears, fear, relief, disbelief, all tangled together. "Ben, why are you doing this for me?" He looked at her, really looked at her. "Because you deserve a chance to live without fear, and because someone should finally stand up for you." Before Lily could answer, her phone buzzed. A new message. Unknown number again. But this time, the text was short, chilling. "I warned you. You're making this worse." Lily's hands shook. And attached beneath the message was a blurred photo of her hospital room door. The blurred photo of her hospital room door sent a jolt through Lily's entire body. Her fingers tightened around the phone until her knuckles whitened. Someone had taken that picture moments ago, someone close enough to touch the doorknob, close enough to enter. Ben immediately stepped closer. "Let me see." Lily handed him the phone with trembling hands. His jaw clenched as he studied the image. "This isn't Grant's style. He likes control. This is intimidation. Sabrina's specialty. But how did she get in the hospital?" Lily whispered. "Security is everywhere." Ben exhaled slowly. "Sabrina has connections. People who owe her favors. She could have slipped past using someone else's badge. She's not stupid, she knows Grant is spiraling. She's securing leverage." Lily's stomach twisted. "Leverage for what?" Ben looked out the window, the Manhattan skyline reflected in the glass like a jagged crown. To force him to finish what they started, to get him to commit fully to her, to the money, to their escape plan. Lily suddenly felt something snap inside her, not fear, but anger. Raw, deep, long-suppressed anger at years of shrinking herself, keeping peace, playing small so Grant wouldn't erupt. And now he and Sabrina were dragging her child into their war. No more. "What do we do?" she asked, voice steadier than she expected. Ben turned back to her. "We hit first." He reached into his coat and pulled out a sleek iPad, tapping it open to a set of documents that made Lily's breath hitch. Bank statements, wire transfers, digital signatures. "What is all this?" she asked. "Evidence," Ben said. "Every illegal transaction Grant approved. Every shell company Sabrina created. Enough to destroy them both." Lily stared, horrified and stunned. "You've had this all along?" "No," he said. "But the Whitaker Foundation's internal auditors flagged irregularities months ago. When I realized you were involved, I started digging deeper." She swallowed. "So now what?" "Tomorrow," Ben said, his voice firm. "There's a closed board meeting at the firm's Park Avenue tower. Grant will be there. Sabrina will be there. They think they're announcing a new initiative." He paused. But I'll be there too, and you're coming with me. Lily's eyes widened. Me? You're the key witness, Ben said. The board needs to know what he's done, not just financially, but to his own family. Fear flickered through her, but beneath it, something stronger stirred. Resolve. Before she could respond, another message pinged onto her phone. This one wasn't a photo. It was a voice memo. She tapped it. Sabrina's voice filled the room. She won't survive tomorrow. Neither of you will. End quote. Lily gasped. Ben's eyes darkened to steel. And the war officially began. The voice memo ended, leaving a cold hum in the air, as if the hospital walls themselves recoiled from Sabrina's threat. Lily pressed a hand to her chest, feeling her heartbeat slam wildly beneath her skin. She had never truly understood fear until now, not the fear of losing Grant, not the fear of raising a child alone, but the fear of someone intentionally wanting to break her. Ben stepped closer, taking the phone gently from her trembling fingers. "Lily, listen to me," he said, voice steady in a way that grounded her. "She's bluffing. Sabrina thrives on panic. She needs you scared. Fear is her leverage." "But she's been everywhere," Lily whispered. "She knew where I was going. She got into the hospital. She sent someone for Ella. What if tomorrow isn't safe? What if she really—" Ben shook his head. "Tomorrow is the safest place for you. The boardroom will be full of executives, legal counsel, and corporate security. Sabrina won't try anything there. She wants power, not prison." Lily wanted to believe him. She really did. But her mind kept circling back to the blurred photo, the voice memo, the look in Grant's eyes when he realized Sabrina had leverage over him. It felt like she was walking onto a battlefield with no armor. As if reading her thoughts, Ben reached for her hand carefully, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. "You're stronger than you think," he murmured. "You've survived more pain than either of them could handle for a single day. Tomorrow, you're not walking into that room alone. I'll be beside you the whole time." Something warm tightened in Lily's chest. Not romantic, something deeper. Something she had never felt with Grant. Safety. A nurse approached, interrupting the moment. "Miss Henderson? We'll be moving your daughter to a more secure floor overnight. Only you and Mr. Cross are authorized for access." Lily nodded gratefully. "Thank you." When the nurse left, Lily sank onto the small bench near the window. Outside, Manhattan glittered under the night sky, cold and indifferent. Tomorrow, she would be standing in a Park Avenue tower, walking straight into the world. Grant and Sabrina had tried to weaponize against her. "Why does it have to be me?" she whispered. Ben sat beside her. "Because truth sounds different when it comes from the person who lived it. And because the board needs to see the real cost of Grant's lies." Lily swallowed hard. "What if they don't believe me?" "They will," Ben said, without hesitation. "Because tomorrow, I'll tell them who I really am." Her eyes lifted. "And who is that?" Ben looked at her, expression unreadable, yet filled with quiet power. Someone Grant should have never underestimated. Lily barely slept that night. Even with Ella safe in a highly secured pediatric suite and Ben stationed in a chair outside her door like a silent guardian, fear kept tapping at the edges of her mind. But beneath that fear, beneath the exhaustion and the ache in her chest, something else was forming. Resolve. When the first light crept into the hospital room, she sat up, smoothing her hair with trembling fingers. For years, she had lived in Grant's shadow, shrinking herself to make space for his ego, his temper, his ambition. But now she was stepping into a world he thought she could never survive, in a boardroom where truth weighed more than power, and where she finally had someone standing beside her who didn't underestimate her. Ben returned with 2 cups of tea, hers chamomile, his black. "You look stronger today," he said softly. "I feel stronger," she admitted. "Terrified, but stronger." He nodded. "That's enough." They dressed in the quiet, early morning calm. Ben had brought her clothing simple, elegant, neutral. Not expensive, not flashy, but dignified. Something she would have chosen for herself in a different life. As she buttoned the soft blouse, he watched her with careful respect. "You don't have to impress them," he said. "You only have to speak your truth." Lily exhaled slowly. "Will they even listen?" "When I walk in with you," Ben said. "Yes." She paused. "Ben, what exactly are you going to tell them?" He hesitated, then smiled faintly. "That the Whitaker Foundation is prepared to intervene if their firm fails to act. and that the largest silent partner is no longer silent. That hit her like a bolt of lightning. "You're revealing everything?" "If that's what it takes," he said simply. "Saving their company is one thing, but protecting you and Ella matters more." Emotion rose in her throat, tight and overwhelming. "I don't know how to thank you." Ben stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You don't owe me anything. Just don't let Grant convince you that you're powerless. You're not." A knock interrupted them. A hospital administrator stood at the door. "Miss Henderson, your transport car is here. Private security has been arranged, courtesy of Mr. Cross." Lily blinked. "You arranged security?" Ben shrugged lightly. "I don't trust Grant, or Sabrina. Today needs to be clean." Lily took one last look at Ella sleeping peacefully, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "I'll make you proud." And faced a bye. Then she stood tall, shoulders squared. "Let's finish this," she said. Ben nodded and opened the door. But neither of them noticed the figure watching from the end of the hallway, making a call to Sabrina the moment they walked away. The black SUV pulled up to the entrance of the Park Avenue Tower, its polished exterior reflecting the cold morning light. Lily stared at the skyscraper looming above her glass, steel, and sharp edges, like the world Grant had always chosen over her. Her heart hammered, but she kept her spine straight as Ben stepped out first, offering his hand to help her. "You don't have to be brave," he murmured. "Just be honest." She nodded, gripping his hand a second longer than necessary before letting go. Inside, the lobby buzzed with movement. Executives in tailored suits, assistants clutching iPads, security guards scanning badges. Yet when Lily entered, everything slowed. Eyes shifted. Voices dipped. People recognized her not as a person, but as the whispered scandal Grant had tried so hard to sculpt. Ben ignored them, leading her toward the private elevator reserved for board members. A guard stepped forward, scanning Ben's ID badge, one Lily had never seen him wear at the bookstore. "Good morning, Mr. Cross," the guard said with sudden stiffness. Lily blinked. She wasn't used to anyone treating Ben with fear or reverence. It reminded her again painfully that the man who once recommended books to her daughter was someone the financial world bowed to. As the elevator rose, Lily felt her pulse quicken. "What if they don't want to hear me?" Lily asked quietly. "What if they defend him?" Ben shook his head. "Most of them don't care about Grant. They care about stability, money, and public image. When they realize he's a liability, they'll do whatever it takes to cut ties." "And Sabrina?" Lily whispered. Ben's jaw tightened. "Sabrina only survives if she hides behind Grant. Once he falls, she has nothing to stand on." The elevator chimed, doors sliding open onto a long hallway of frosted glass offices. At the end stood two massive doors, the boardroom. Lily took a shaky breath. "I'm really doing this." Ben touched her elbow gently. "And you're not doing it alone." But before they could take a step, a familiar voice echoed down the hallway. "Unbelievable. You actually brought her here?" Grant strode toward them, face flushed with anger. He looked less polished today, tie crooked, eyes bloodshot, panic simmering beneath his arrogance. "You think you can smear me in front of the board?" he hissed. "Dragging your pathetic little sob story into my workplace." Ben stepped forward sharply. "Careful, Grant." But Grant wasn't listening. He pointed a shaking finger at Lily. "You don't belong in this building. You never have. After today, you'll wish you stayed in that hospital bed." Lily swallowed, meeting his eyes not with fear, but with clarity. "No, Grant," she said softly. "After today, you'll finally face what you've done." Grant's expression flickered fear beneath fury. Then the boardroom doors opened. "Mr. Whitmore," a voice called. "We're ready for you." And as Lily walked inside beside Ben, she realized Grant wasn't the only one trembling. The boardroom felt like a different universe, cold, polished, humming with restrained power. A long mahogany table stretched across the center, surrounded by men and women whose pens probably cost more than Lily's monthly rent. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Manhattan skyline, the city glittering like sharp glass behind them. Grant walked in first, shoulders stiff, mask of confidence slipping with every step. Sabrina wasn't with him oddly, and for a moment Lily wondered if that was part of their plan or a sign that something between them had cracked. Then Ben entered beside Lily. The shift in the room was immediate. Conversations halted, brows lifted. A few board members stood out of respect. "Mr. Cross," one of them said, adjusting his tie. We weren't expecting you today. Grant whipped around, eyes wide. What? Ben nodded politely. Whitaker Foundation business. End quote. A murmur spread through the room, low, surprised, wary. Grant's face blanched. He had never known Ben's real identity. And now the realization hit him with visible force. That's impossible, Grant muttered. You work in a bookstore. Ben didn't even spare him a glance. Please be seated, Mr. Whitmore. The board chair cleared her throat. We have several urgent matters to address, Mr. Whitmore. Your financial reports still show irregularities. You've been asked repeatedly to provide documentation. Grant forced a thin smile. Yes, I'm handling that. Ben placed an iPad on the table. No, you're not. Screens lit up across the boardroom as files synced automatically. Bank transfers, forged signatures, shell corporations. It was devastating. Precise. Inescapable. Grant's voice cracked. Where did you get this? Your greed left a trail, Ben replied calmly. Gasps rippled through the room. One senior partner leaned forward. Mr. Whitmore, this is fraud on a massive scale. Lily watched Grant's composure crumble. He looked smaller by the second, but the worst wasn't over. Ben signaled to Lily. Her heart pounded, but she stepped forward. My name is Lily Henderson, she began. And I'm here because what you're seeing in those documents didn't just hurt this company, it hurt my family. Grant shot to his feet. She's lying. She's unstable. Sit down, Grant. The board chair snapped. Lily continued, voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. He's been living a double life. He stole from this company to support plans with another woman, Sabrina Cole. And when I discovered the affair, he tried to paint me as mentally unfit so he could take my daughter. The room erupted. Shock, disgust, questions. Grant collapsed back into his chair, sweating. The board chair turned to him sharply. Mr. Whitmore, is any of this untrue? He opened his mouth, but no words came. Just then, the door opened. Sabrina Cole stepped inside, eyes glassy, holding something in her trembling hands. And the entire room went silent as they realized she wasn't here to defend Grant, but to destroy him. Sabrina Cole stood in the doorway like a storm about to break, mascara smudged, hair disheveled, breath trembling as if she'd run up all 40 floors. The boardroom fell into a heavy silence. For the first time since Lily had known her, Sabrina didn't look powerful. She looked terrified. Grant jumped to his feet. Sabrina, what are you doing here? I told you to stay out of... Shut up, Grant, she snapped, voice cracking. That alone stunned the board. She stepped forward, clutching a slim manila folder to her chest. Lily recognized it instantly, the kind of folder Grant kept locked in his home office. Sabrina's fingers tightened around it. The truth, Sabrina whispered, turning to the board, is worse than what you've seen. Don Kama. Grant lunged toward her, but two executives blocked him. Sabrina, the board chair said cautiously, do you understand the seriousness of these accusations? Yes, Sabrina said, eyes flicking briefly toward Lily. And I'm done protecting him. She opened the folder. Documents spilled across the table, screenshots, emails, signed approvals, recordings, every piece of evidence proving Grant had orchestrated the fraud and pulled Sabrina into it with promises he never intended to keep. He told me we'd leave the company together, Sabrina said, voice unsteady. He said he'd divorce Lily, marry me, start a new firm, but he never meant any of it. He used me. And when things went bad, he planned to make me the scapegoat. Grant's face turned chalk white. Sabrina, you idiot, why would you expose yourself? Sabrina glared at him. Because at least I'm willing to tell the truth. She reached into her purse and placed her phone on the table. There's more. She tapped play. Grant's voice filled the room. If this blows up, Sabrina takes the fall. Lily's already losing her mind, nobody will believe her. And Sabrina's young, naive, easy to manipulate. A sharp inhale went around the boardroom. Someone muttered, My God. Grant stumbled backward, horror creeping across his features. That audio is fake. It has to be. Sabrina cut him off. It's real. You recorded it yourself on the backup phone Lily never knew about. Ben stepped forward then, expression icy. Enough. He turned to the board. The Whitaker Foundation votes to remove Grant Whitmore from all roles, effective immediately. and we are recommending full legal investigation." A resounding murmur of agreement echoed around the table. Grant's panic bloomed into full desperation. "You can't do this. This is my company, my future." "No," Ben said calmly. "It was built on lies." Grant's gaze snapped to Lily, wild with hatred. "You did this. You ruined everything. Iresinus and Creech." Lily held his stare, steady for the first time. "No, Grant, you ruined yourself." Security entered. The board chair nodded. "Escort Mr. Whitmore out." Grant roared in protest as guards took his arms. But as he was dragged out of the boardroom, he didn't realize his downfall wasn't over yet. The boardroom door slammed behind Grant, his shouts fading as security dragged him down the hallway. But Lily knew this wasn't the true end. Not yet. The financial destruction was only one part of his downfall. His carefully crafted image, his control over her life, his threats, all of it was collapsing at once. And now came the part she feared and hoped for in equal measure. "What happens now?" Lily asked, her voice still trembling from the intensity of the meeting. Ben turned to her, expression gentler than it had been in hours. "Now," he said, "we make sure he can't touch you or Ella ever again. Minus one baya." Sabrina sank into a chair, rubbing her temples. She looked exhausted, stripped of the sharpness she used like a blade. "There's something else you need to see," she said quietly. "Something I didn't give the board." Ben stiffened. "Why not show everything?" "Because this part isn't about the company," Sabrina murmured. "It's about Lily." A cold spike lodged itself in Lily's chest. "About me?" Sabrina nodded and slid a USB drive across the table. Her hands shook. "Grant made contingency plans in case you ever left him. He collected things, photos, letters, therapy notes, anything that made you look unstable." Lily felt sick. "Therapy notes? I haven't been to therapy in years." "He hacked into your old provider's portal," Sabrina said. "He wanted ammunition." "I didn't realize what he was doing until it was too late. I thought he just wanted closure. But Grant doesn't do closure. He does control." Ben's expression darkened. "I can use this. The court will view it as coercion and harassment. It destroys any chance he has at custody." Lily exhaled shakily, the weight of years lifting and pressing down on her all at once. "Why are you helping me now?" she asked Sabrina. The woman's eyes glistened rage and regret, mixing in a way Lily didn't expect. "Because I was you once," Sabrina whispered. "Someone promised me the world, made me feel chosen, until I realized I was just convenient. Grant doesn't love anyone. He consumes them." For the first time, Lily saw the cracks beneath Sabrina's glossy facade. Pain, humiliation, a twisted mirror of her own past. Ben gathered the documents and USB. "We take all of this to the legal team. By tonight, Grant will face restraining orders, investigations, federal charges. He won't have room to breathe, much less hurt you." Lily nodded, tears blurring her vision, not of fear this time, but release. But before they could leave, a security officer rushed into the room, out of breath. "Mr. Cross, Miss Henderson, there's something you need to know." Ben straightened. "What is it?" The officer swallowed. "Grant escaped custody downstairs." Lily's heart lurched. "What do you mean he escaped?" "He assaulted a guard," the officer said, "and he's still inside the building." And Lily felt it instantly. Grant wasn't running. He was coming. For her. Chaos erupted the moment the security officer finished speaking. Ben immediately positioned himself in front of Lily, instinctive and protective. "We're leaving. Now," he said, guiding her toward the private elevator. But as they approached, the lights flickered a warning, not from the building, but from the man hiding inside it. "Grant." They stepped into the hallway. It was too quiet, too still. Then, a shadow moved at the far end. Grant stepped forward, breathing hard, his shirt torn, eyes wild with desperation. "You think you can ruin me?" he shouted, voice echoing through the corridor. "You think you can take my daughter, my life?" Lily tightened her grip on her tote, but Ben didn't move from in front of her. "Your life self-destructed," he said calmly. "We just stopped you from dragging Lily down with you." Grant's fury twisted into something darker. "You think she loves you? She can't even take care of herself. She's pathetic, weak, a burden." He lunged a step closer. "And I'll make sure the whole world knows it." "No," Lily said softly. Grant froze not because of fear, but because her voice didn't tremble. For years, Lily continued, stepping out from behind Ben. You convinced me I was small. You fed on my insecurities. You taught me to shrink so you could shine. Her eyes didn't waver. But I'm not afraid of you anymore. Grant's laugh was sharp, unhinged. What do you think you can do to me, Lily? What power do you think you have? Ben answered for her. This? Behind them, the elevator doors slid open, and 3 uniformed federal agents stepped out. Grant turned, stunned. The lead agent held out a warrant. Grant Whitmore, you are under arrest for corporate fraud, money laundering, intimidation, and attempted abduction. Grant stumbled backward. No, this is a mistake. Sabrina set me up. Lily lied. I didn't. Sabrina appeared behind the agents, arms crossed, expression cold. No more lies, Grant. The agents cuffed him as Grant thrashed wildly. Lily, please, don't let them take me. I can fix this. We can fix. But Lily simply watched, steady as stone. For the first time, she whispered, I don't feel sorry for you. Grant's screams faded as he was dragged away, swallowed by the building he thought he controlled. Silence settled. Ben turned to her. It's over. Inspection, one of that was. Lily felt something inside her, loosen a weight finally lifted. Is it really? Yes, Ben said gently. Now you get to live. Weeks later, in a small ceremony by the main shoreline, where gentle waves brushed the sand, Lily stood barefoot, Ella holding her hand. Ben waited beside them, eyes warm, steady, devoted. Not saving her, choosing her. Lily smiled, tears soft but full. She finally had the life she deserved. And this time, she walked into it freely, completely, and without fear. So, that's how our story closes tonight. And if you're still here with us right now, my dear friend, it means something in this story touched your heart in a way you maybe didn't expect. Maybe it reminded you of your own strength. Maybe it whispered to you that no matter how dark things get, you're not done yet. You know, the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The obstacle is the way. What breaks us is often what leads us exactly where we need to grow." Lily didn't choose her pain, but she chose what came after it. And that's the part that truly matters for her and for us. Life won't always protect you from people who underestimate you, but it will always give you a chance to rise in a way they never saw coming. If this story gave you even a little comfort, a little courage, or a little reminder of your own worth, then stay with us. Like the video, share it with someone who needs healing, and subscribe so we can walk through the next story together. You're stronger than you know, and you're exactly where you're meant to be.